Okay. Welcome to everybody that's made it out, and for those watching online, and welcome to you as well. Socrates is quoted by Plato as saying that the unexamined life is not worth living. And I have to say, he'll be very glad to hear, I agree with him. How many people are there out in the world who never stop to think? You know, there's an old cartoon I used to watch when I was younger called the Animaniacs. I know we're going from Socrates to Animaniacs. It's an easy step. It was a number of short sketches with recurring characters. One character was called Mindy. She was a little girl who would always skip up to an adult and ask why. And when she was given the answer, she would ask why again. She got an answer and she'd ask why. And so on it would go until the adult was getting more and more frustrated. Until when it seemed like they were going to blow their top, she would say, "Okay, I love you, bye-bye," and skip off. Why was it that the adult got so frustrated? Because I think adults often like to think that we have all the answers. We like to believe that we have life figured out and can face any situation with confidence. Mindy made them face their own ignorance. She made them examine life, something many adults refuse to do until life forces them to. And I can understand why they would avoid examining life. You see, they might not like what they see. War, famine, injustice, evil men succeeding when good men are kept down, bimbos and idiots making their millions while hard-working families are struggling to get by, drug addiction and the crime that often comes with it, the failed relationships and broken families that they cause. Those we love either leave us or die. Or if we're fortunate enough to die first and leave pain at our passing for those we leave behind. And so instead of looking at the darkness around them, they keep their eyes down or distract themselves with shiny toys and trips away where they can pretend that life is worthwhile. It was Robert Burns who said in To a Mouse, when speaking to the mouse whose house he had just accidentally destroyed, "Still thou art blessed compared with me, the present only toucheth thee, but och I backward cast mine ee on prospects drear, and forward though I canna see, I guess and fear." Burns, unlike the mouse, could look back at the misery he had lived through, and even worse, could look forward to the uncertainty of the future with little hope of peace or joy beyond the fleeting happiness of the moments, few and far between. One of the wisest, richest, and most powerful men to have ever lived said this in Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 14. "I have seen everything that is done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my heart has had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I have applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is but striving after wind." I'm very cheerful today, haven't I? There are always those those optimistic people who will tell you that all the pain and sorrow we experience in life is worth it because we're building a better future for our children. But what if they are foolish with our legacy? Ecclesiastes chapter 2 points this out as well. It says, I hated all my toil in which I toil under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool? Yet he will be master of all for which I toiled and used my wisdom under the sun. This also is vanity. There are plenty of stories in the media of famous or wealthy people whose children have been an embarrassment to them, who have taken the enviable position that they grew up in and wasted their lives. So is that what I've come here to say? That if we examine our life, we will find that it is pointless and full of pain and sorrow? No. Because thus far, we and Ecclesiastes were examining a life that was missing one key factor. And that factor is God. If there is a God, and obviously I'm convinced that there is, then there is a dynamic change. You see, the Bible tells us that this world that we experience just now is not the whole of the story. The wealth, experiences, and power are not the only things to strive after. There is an eternal state that we need to consider. There are two, and only two, final destinations to choose from. And the choices we make in the here and now affect the final destination and how we will experience it. Jesus is speaking in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14, and says this, Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide, and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow, and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. You might have noticed this board behind me. It sits behind the speaker every week, and it illustrates this truth. Two roads, one that leads to destruction and one that leads to life eternal. But how do we know which path we are on? Well, our default path is the road that leads to the damnation. Ever since Adam first sinned, all mankind has been on this broad way that leads to destruction. We are on the broad road initially due to our familial relationship with Adam, but make no mistakes that we deserve to be there. Our destination is a result not just of our birth, but also our actions and inactions. We have failed in our duty of care to each other and our attitude towards God. And this failure has consequences. We are separate from God and the plan He has for our lives and eternal destinies. This broad road which we are on by default and our own choices lead us away from God. And eventually, when we die, we will be eternally and irrevocably separate from God, the source of all good things. Does that mean that someone who has been a pretty decent person their whole lives will face the exact same punishment as a mass murderer? No, I don't think so, and I have a good reason for my position. In Luke chapter 10, verses 13 and 14, Jesus is speaking about towns nearby when he said, Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. But it will be more bearable in the judgment for Tyre and Sidon than for you. It seems from this that the punishment for some will be greater than for others. But surely it would be better to avoid all punishment, if that is possible. Unfortunately, it is. After all, there is another road, another path, another destination. It is described in Matthew chapter 7 as the narrow gate. It is a road that leads to life. Not just a life that is actually worth living here and now while we live, but once our mortal bodies fail, we will have a new and eternal life. Revelation chapter 21 verses 2 to 5 says this, "And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away.' And he who was seated on the throne said, 'Behold, I am making all things new.' Also he said, 'Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true.'" Imagine that. Being able to actually spend time with God, the one who made everything, the one who understands the deep mysteries of the universe, and the one who loves mankind. And nothing to interrupt our enjoyment. I love riding my motorbike. But after a few hours, my back starts to hurt. My ears buzz. My hand gets cramp. And the enjoyment fades to the point where I just want to get off. There are two roads and two destinations. To get from the broad road to the narrow is easy in concept, but perhaps not so easy to do. What do I mean? Do I mean that you have to live a good life? Well, that is easy in concept and difficult in practice. But no. Being a good person is not what is required. Nor is going to church, giving to charity, going on a pilgrimage, or anything else like that. No, what is required is to change your mind. The Bible calls it repentance. You must change your mind about God. You must see him as being right, not just in some things, but in all things. And you must change your mind about yourself, how good you think you are. No doubt you can think of people who are worse than you. But does that matter? The fact that you have done wrong and you deserve punishment for it, no extenuating circumstances, no mitigating factors. You, just like me, are sinners. And we must ask God to forgive us. Not because we will try better in the future, but because of the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. Jesus was and is perfect. He can give us his perfection because he paid for the consequences of our evil. But we have to ask. God does not want unwilling participants. We have to ask for his forgiveness, and he's ready and willing to forgive us. But how does this new understanding of our lives impact our examination of our lives? Just as there is a variety of punishment for those who do not have their faith firmly fixed in Jesus, so there is a variety of rewards for those that do. 1 Corinthians chapter 9 verses 9 through 15 says, For we are God's fellow workers. You're God's field, God's building. According to the grace of God given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation, and someone else is building upon it. Let each one of you take care how he builds upon it. For no one can lay a foundation other than that which was laid, which is Jesus Christ. Now, if anyone builds on the foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each one's work will become manifest, for the day will disclose it, because it will be revealed by fire. And the fire will test what sort of work each one has done. If the work that anyone has built on the foundation survives, he will receive a reward. If anyone's work is burned up, he will suffer loss, though he himself will be saved, but only as through fire. Christians are building for God with our actions and intent. If we build well, it will be rewarded. If we build badly, it will be burned up. We will still be saved, but with nothing to show for it. Better to build well for the promised reward. So there are two roads and two destinies. Which one will you choose? For there is no third way. Thanks very much for your time.